Hello again. Welcome to another edition of Electric Avenue's YouTube updates. It is cold. It feels like that. Radiohead's Get A. Very cold here. Thanks for joining me, and I'm going to be doing the new releases for January 19th, 2024. Don't have a lot to get to, actually. It's sort of a light week in some ways, so I'm just going to kind of get through these as much as possible. I say that every time. The first thing I'm going to show is something that I don't remember if I showed or not, but it's Stevie Ray Vaughan, his solo sessions and encores. And this was a special release for the first time on vinyl, limited to 2,500 on translucent blue, featuring B.B. King, David Bowie, Bonnie Raitt, Jeff Beck, Albert King, Albert Collins, and others. This was a compilation that was released in 2007, and it finally has come out on vinyl. So Stevie Ray Vaughan completists, take note. A couple more things that I sort of maybe glossed over at the time. Jimmy Buffett, Christmas Island. I know it's after Christmas, but this was the first time this ever came out on vinyl. I don't know if we're going to have an easy time getting this next year or not. So you might want to consider getting ready for that if Jimmy means something to you. And another thing that I kind of glossed over was a live record by MGMT called 11-11-11. And they have a new record coming out at the end of February that's already being very highly talked about by the critics. So you might want to pick that up while it's still available, because I don't think it's going to be around for very long. All right, so new releases this week. The big new release, I would say, is probably the new Green Day, Saviors. Now, this is the limited version, sort of deluxe vinyl on 180 gram gatefold with an embossed cover. And so that's the deluxe. For about $5 less, you can get the limited indie store version, not 180 gram, but it's on black and hot pink vinyl. So that seems kind of cooler in a way. But anyway, the new Green Day, it's getting pretty good reviews, better than Father of All, the last one. The track listing's right there. It sort of almost looks like there's sort of a smudging going on, but not that was intentional. Don't think that your record cover is smudged or anything. All right. Another new release this week. They haven't had one in about 4 years. Sleater-Kinney and the new album Little Rope. It's just two of them now. It has been since drummer Corinne, was that her name? I can't remember. Anyway, someone's gonna let me know. But the drummer left, and so it's just the two of them now. But anyway, so new album from them. This is the Indie Sea Blue vinyl edition. And then another new release, Slift. I think it's pronounced Ilion, or it might be Ilion, but this is the loser edition, so color vinyl, progressive metal type stuff on Sub Pop. Interesting signing for Sub Pop, and trying to kind of like diversify a little bit there, so cool for them. And another new release, Danny Brown, his album Quaranta. He released an album around Christmas with JPEG Mafia called Scaring the Hose. That was on a lot of people's best of albums last year, and so that's a solo one. I'm not really sure. I think there's a JPEG Mafia solo record coming out soon too, so be looking for that. All right, Blue Note classic series. Well, this week we get Clifford Brown, two releases. This is a memorial album cut by Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio as usual. This features Percy Heath, Art Blakey, Lou Donaldson, Philly Joe Jones. Looks like recorded 1953, released in 55. The other one, because they come in twos, Bud Powell's The Amazing Bud Powell Volume 1. This features Fats Navarro, Sonny Rollins, Roy Haynes, and Max Roach. And this looks like also from mid 50s, 53, 55. They're both quite old and difficult to get, so it's nice to have really nice new pressings of them, um, untouched by human hands. If you can find good originals, then good for you. Um, let's see. A couple of Rhino Start Your Ear Off Right came out. Nuggets, part of the Nuggets series. This is psychedelic stuff, 1965 to 68. This is on psychedelic splatter vinyl, which is limited to indie stores like ours. And that's a great series. And Volume 1 came out a couple years ago. I'm not sure that there are any left of that, but there might be. I'd have to look. Other one, English Beat. I Just Can't Stop It. This actually came out a Black Friday as a double with sort of a lot of extra stuff. Here you get just the sort of basic, but it's the American album, so it does include their cover of Tears of a Clown. But great band on limited magenta vinyl. They would eventually splinter to become like General Public and Fine Young Cannibals. Yeah, but they were really great ska band at the beginning, like the Specials and Madness. Great scene. Great British band here too, Spiritualized, their album Amazing Grace. This one's kind of been harder to get, I think. This was the follow-up, I believe, to Let It Come Down. So early 2000s. Jason Pierce is amazing. I think if you're into sort of like Rolling Stones and stuff like that, you might want to give them a shot, because I think that some really great music there. Rodrigo and Gabriella. This album was their debut on green colored vinyl, crocodile green. It was such I don't know, sort of I don't want to say a fluke. It was sort of a sensation how much it sold in my area when it first came out. And this does feature their cover of Stairway to Heaven and a bunch of other stuff. It's mostly all instrumental, kind of acoustic guitar with Latin flavor type stuff. But they sort of liked metal, so that kind of like played into their rock side. I think that those were sort of limited, and we didn't get very many. I'm hoping we get more. I'm hoping that they've been making more, because I think that might be popular. Another one is Warren Haynes, Man in Motion, Leader of Government Mule. This is on Ruby Red vinyl, so Warren Haynes reissue. Let's see, more into soul music. Lee Fields, Emma Jean. This is a clear vinyl edition. This is a record from him about 10 years old. If you like soul music, like Duran Jones, Black Pumas, check out Lee Fields, because he's great. And then going back even further here, Souls of Mischief, a 30th anniversary edition of 93 to Infinity. They did release an EP of remixes for Black Friday, and now we're getting the actual official Souls of Mischief. I don't think that this is super limited. It doesn't say if it's a color pressing either, but who knows. I guess once you buy it and open it. A couple other hip-hop. There's an RSD Essential, Sean Price featuring M Phases. It's called Land of the Crooks. And the quote on the back says, Sean Price was hip-hop's Grey Hulk, a barbarian with the pen with the sharpest of wits, a true Brooklyn legend, R.I.P. And this is on Black Smoke with... getting smoky in here. Neon green splatter. I knew that was going to happen at some point. It's so dry with the heater running all the time that I'm just like... Seize the Time by Elaine Brown and the Black Panther Party. So if you're into Black Panther civil rights stuff, that could be interesting. It's got The Meeting, which is the national Black Panther Party anthem. Let's see. And another sort of reissue, Toof by the Deviants. So these sort of are like coming from an independent distributor. They're very limited, so if you want them, you might not want to wait too long to look for them. And then let's see, 4 indie sort of outlaw country type things that have been sort of picked up by RCA. Coulter Wall, that's his self-titled record. These are all on red vinyl. Western Swing and Waltzes and Other Punchy Songs. Songs of the Plains. And Imaginary Appalachia. Or Appalachia, as it were. I keep hearing some people say that, so maybe that's the right way. And then I have a couple CDs I want to show. There is Dire Straits' new little live box called Live 78 to 92. This actually was released in England before Christmas, and it took a while for them to decide to put it out here. But this is a CD box. It's 8 CDs, all remastered. Adds back the tracks in full lengths that were cut from the originals. And there's a whole new Live at the Rainbow as the final disc, 2-disc set, an unreleased concert from 1979, featuring on the last 4 tracks Tony DeMar and Phil Lynott of Fabulous Poodles and Thin Lizzy, respectfully. And so that's pretty cool. If you want the vinyl for this, the CD is about $60. The vinyl runs like $250, $260. I mean, it's a 12 record set, so we don't actually have that in stock. I don't have it to show. If you want it, you're going to have to say, get me that. The other thing is that I don't have to show right now is the Rolling Stones Hackney Diamonds is being reissued on CD with a bonus CD of the live show that they did with Lady Gaga coming out last fall at that smaller club. And another new CD, Robbie Krieger of The Doors. And the Soul Savages, and this is mostly, I think, all instrumental, kind of psychedelic, blues, jazz, proggy, maybe a little. But anyway, and he was just out playing festivals with like Echo and the Bunnymen. So Jim Morrison's been gone for what seems like forever, and Robbie's still around. So this is a pretty small week as far as new releases and sort of things to talk about. There's a whole bunch of new releases coming out. I was just putting together a bunch of lists last night. We're going to have by the early April, we're going to have new records from the Black Keys. Like I said, MGMT's got stuff coming out. There's a whole bunch, and I'll try to prepare that list for you for the next video and go a little more into depth on some stuff. But and I think the Vampire Weekend album, I don't know when that's actually coming. Probably not until May or June. But so I was trying to figure out what can I recommend people today. I feel like I've been doing a lot of 80s female stuff, and I've been doing a lot of females mainly because I don't know, I look around and I feel like, you know, a lot of times the women don't get the respect that they deserve, and there are so many great female artists out there, and so I'm picking kind of a like a sort of a lesser talked about one today. Last couple videos I did Liz Fraser and the Cocteau Twins. I did Annie Lennox and Eurythmics. This time I'm doing Nana Cherry. Nana Cherry is the stepdaughter of Don Cherry, famous jazz musician. He was her stepfather. She was a daughter of his wife and the first dad, who sort of left when she was quite young. He was a African man who went to Stockholm to study engineering, and her parents met, and she was the product of that. And then she came to America for a while to live here and went back to London, and Sweden, was kind of always bouncing around. By the time she was like 14, 15, she was fully into like music and the post-punk scene or punk scene, and kind of not really paying attention to school. But she ended up being an early sort of like singer, some backing singer in the Slits with R.E.M. And then Rip Rig and Panic was sort of a group that she was in for a while. and then started hanging around with people like Matt Johnson of The, and sort of got her foot in the door. He sort of worked on some of her records, and then she appeared. I think the first really major thing I saw her sort of on was the song "Slow Train to Dawn," which was on The's Infected album in like '84 or so. And so she ended up meeting a guy named Cameron McVeigh, and sort of with him became more of a solo type artist. And this album was sort of like, if you want to go back to the beginnings of what was the trip hop scene, Massive Attack, Tricky, um, Portishead, who she worked with all of these people at different points in time. This was sort of the originating of that. This and then Massive Attack's Blue Lines came very soon after this. But this basically was kind of a pop hip hop record. It sort of sat somewhere between like Madonna and the hip hop stuff, really. And she was a young mom, and not these pictures, but there was a picture originally on this where it featured her with her cesarean scar just after she'd had a baby because she caused a furor doing one of her songs on British TV, being pregnant and having her belly show or whatever. But I don't know. I didn't see that. I didn't actually see the performance because I'm not in England. But apparently that was sort of mini scandal at the time. But she had a huge hit from this album called Buffalo Stance. It went to number 3 in both the UK and the US. It was sort of like an early version of what Gwen Stefani would do later with like a Hollaback Girl kind of song. Sort of like a hip hop call out with like lots of like female empowerment and put downs of all of the men that were like, trying to get something from her. Very like catchy song and way ahead of its time as far as like production. And she proved that she's not only a great uh, rapper but a great singer as well too. She sang quite a bit on this record and some of her others. And she sort of diversified by the time she got to the second album, doing things with like Michael Stipe of REM and going in a little more of a kind of organic like rock direction. So she really, and even up till more recent, has gotten more into like jazz and avant-garde type stuff. So this was an artist that you could not have pegged at all. And I don't know. I think that this album needs a little more reassessment. And I felt bad because I got it on deal before Christmas and it was in the rack for $10 and it sat there for 3 months. And I'm like, I am talking about Neneh Cherry today. So, because that's just a travesty. But anyway, so Buffalo Stance, like I said, was the big hit single first. Manchild is a great song. That's one that was co written by Robert Del Naja of Massive Attack. So, and yeah, and these people would sort of like, their paths were always crossing. Kisses on the Wind was another single. That's the third track. That's a very Madonna. It's like a breezy kind of sounding Latino type song beat. But then she would do songs that had very deep sort of topical resonance, like Inner City Mama, um, sort of like kind of the rough life that you'd see of people living on the streets. The Next Generation was a song basically about how we were being terrible to the children and not really taking care of them and not educating them and not putting enough resources into them. And then side 2, sort of more of the same. Love Ghetto and Heart were kind of more like Madonna-esque, I suppose, in a way. Not as like in your face poppy is that, a little darker. It's sort of like the trip hop scene was definitely like a darker kind of sound, and you'd get that in like early Massive Attack songs, like the big song that Sharon Nelson sang. I'm trying to remember what that was called right now, but the it was it with, I can't remember the name. Someone's gonna put that in the comments. It's just because I'm talking so much that I can't remember. I'll probably remember as soon as I finish the video. But Phony Lady is a great sort of call out type song about women who are like, all catty and stuff. Ultra Risque Locomotive, and then finishes with the song So Here I Come, which is a great kind of like hip hoppy, with a funky kind of beat. And she does this great rap. And, the last line of her just kind of screaming, I came already. So here I come. I came already, was like kind of wild at the time. But it's a very fun album. Mark Saunders worked on it, who became like a really big producer with like people like S Express and stuff like that, and worked with a lot of like European or British pop, techno pop stuff at the time. But she would sort of have many other like kind of little guest spots around after this. She appeared in a band called the Teddy Bears, which were a Swedish band. They've had some big hits in like commercials and stuff. She did a song with Yosu Endure called 7 Seconds. That was from the album. It was put on the album after this. Or actually, I'm sorry, it was the two albums after this, mid 90s album that wasn't released, I don't think, in the US. Man, but that song spent like 12 weeks, 14 weeks at number one in France. So she's had like successes all over the world and at different times, but never really seemed to be like chasing success. So I kind of like give her props for that too. But it just sort of, if it came, then great. So, but kind of a neat person. Her half brother's Eagle Eye Cherry, which gets brought up a lot. He had a hit song called Stay Tonight. I think it's Stay Tonight, something like that. Save Tonight. That was like mid 90s. And then also had a half sister named Titio, who has had like some sort of minor chart success too. But Nana's sort of like a big deal for me, I think, because in an era when women were sort of objectified a lot, she really did not play that game. And you got to give credit to people where credit is due. So anyway, thanks for watching my video. I was trying to keep this one a little bit shorter today. So have a great day, and be well and stay warm. And we probably will be closed on Friday, actually, if the snow is as bad as they say it's going to be. So much for a new release day, right? So if you can, always, you're welcome to do an online order or just plan a trip around whenever things happen. We're on Discogs. If you look for the Seller Electric _Avenue, you'll find all of our new records, most of them listed there. I'm always trying to keep up with that. And yeah, so there's that. And you have to have a PayPal account to be able to pay. You can choose the selection to pick up in store if you'd rather do that than have them shipped to you. Unfortunately, we're not shipping overseas right now, just because of all of the problems that occurred when Discogs changed their systems. So anyway, thanks so much, and I appreciate all of the kind words and all you guys for watching. Have a great weekend. Next week, much bigger new release week. I'll have a lot more to show. So be watching for that, and we'll have some previews of new release lists coming up. So, all right, take care. Peace.